¿Y qué onda? Les saluda Yaminahual y sean todos bienvenidos y bienvenidas a la continuación de Hellblade, el sacrificio de Senua. Y vamos a ver, ¿qué tal nos va? ¿No hay nadie detrás de mí? No. Véntame, compadrito. No. A ver, pues, ¿es lo que quieres ver? Es lo que obtienes. Ok, al abismo. ¿Vienes o qué? ¡Me voy por ti! ¡Ay, te crees! ¡Ey, túmbale! ¡Ah, desgraciado! Vienen otros dos. Fallé. Dale. Entonces. Creo que dice Senua, ¿no? No estoy seguro, pero creo que sí. Ay, la verde. Por la espalda no. Uf. Ok, según yo todos están adelante. Ah, hijo de tu cola. Siempre lo mismo. Sí, era obvio. Ah, hijo de tu cola. Uf, vienen demasiados. Y esos cuates por algún motivo no se ven influenciados por mi stun. ¿Quién va a querer? Ah. Estoy en medio, Atrás. Get up. Ven. Watch out, watch out. Casi pierdo, Demasiados enemigos. Ok, estuvimos cerca, pero lo logramos. Mi brazo sigue relativamente mal, pero no tan mal. Así que, bien. Dentro de lo que cabe. Vámonos. Que la... Vengo por la revancha.
What happens when she dies?
What happens to us?
What happens to us?
We die too.
Do we die too?
We
I
die
don't want
too.
to die.
I don't want to.
We'll all die someday.
Todos morimos un día y cuando ya no nos quede nadie, incluso los dioses morirán.
We don't want to die.
Ya no queda nadie.
Senua, stop. Turn back.
Stop her.
No, no me voy a detener.
Why would she stop to die? She won't stop. Stop.
No. Me dicen las voces que me detenga.
I don't want I'm sorry.
Lo siento, no te pedí que formaras parte de mí. Si no
If you don't want to
deseas
die
morir
with me,
conmigo,
then leave
déjame
me
en
alone.
paz.
I don't want to die. Please stop. Please stop. Please stop. Please stop. Please stop. Please stop. Please stop.
Detente, por favor. Si vas ahí, nunca volverás.
There is nothing to go back to.
No hay nada a lo que volver. Ahora solo nos tenemos la una a la otra. No me abandones.
Everyone suffers.
Todos sufren. Tenían razón sobre mí. Senua, escúchame a mí, no a ellos. Tenían miedo, como niños que se asustan de la oscuridad,
So was I.
como yo. Se inventaron monstruos para llenar el vacío. Eso no significa que fueran reales.
They made them real.
Los hicieron reales. No. No me dejes, por favor. Vacía tu alma y dejarás atrás a Senua de antaño, ya que en ella yace tu debilidad y la oscuridad la encontrará. Ok, sacrifiqué una parte de mí, por lo que entiendo. No es como las viejas historias, ¿verdad? Las que hablan de nobles guerreros que se enfrentan al mal en busca de la victoria y el honor. Las que tienen los límites claros.
Clear dividing lines.
No, este lugar no es así. Es como si supiera que el verdadero tormento reside en el interior. Los recuerdos que no se pueden subyugar, que no te dejan escapar.
Memories you cannot defeat. Cannot escape.
Creo que eso significa que me faltaron, ¿no? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Me faltaron creo que 14 de esas cosas. Son rojos. Oh, oh. ¿Eso qué provoca? Alguien grita ayuda, o eso creo. ¿William? No. La mamá. Date la vuelta, Senua. No quiero que me veas así. No me mires. ¿La ves, Senua? Puedes ver la oscuridad, los rostros de miedo y sufrimiento. Puedes verlo. It's real.
I remember it clearly now.
Ahora lo recuerdo con claridad.
She has nothing to fear anymore.
Ya no tienes nada que temer. Los dioses han salvado a tu madre por mi mano.
Through my hand.
You killed her.
La has matado.
It is the will of the gods.
Es la voluntad de los dioses. La mierda de los dioses. Tú lo hiciste. ¿Por qué?
This is what happens when
Esto es lo que pasa cuando escuchas las voces del inframundo. Se infiltran en tu alma y te pudren desde adentro.
rot you from the inside. Defy the gods like
Desafía a los dioses como hizo tu madre y la oscuridad también vendrá por ti.
you understand, son.
¿Lo entiendes, Senua?
I do understand.
Ya lo entiendo. Tú me sometiste a la maldición de tu propia locura. Tú creaste la oscuridad.
I was just a child.
No eras... Tú creaste esta oscuridad para poder esconderte tras ella.
You created this darkness so you could hide behind it.
Only suffering brings
Solo del sufrimiento viene la salvación, así actúan los dioses.
It was all
Todo era mentira.
You are alive!
Mentirosa.
She didn't defy the gods.
Ya no desafía a los dioses. Desafío a ti. Por eso la
So you
mataste.
killed her.
you didn't grant to
Tus
God.
plegarias no iban dirigidas a los dioses, sino a tu madre.
Your
Tu
mother
madre que era demasiado débil para combatir la oscuridad. Y abandonó. Y te abandonó.
Tortured her.
La torturaste, la mataste. Tú eres la oscuridad. A mí también me habría matado. Ahora tú eres no sé qué. Aquellos rituales, los años de aislamiento, el dolor que aún te atormenta, era la única forma de combatir la maldición que guardas en tu interior.
It was the only way to fight the curse within you.
Mientes. La oscuridad está dentro de ti y te destruirá. Mentiroso. No, Senua, la oscuridad está aquí. No desaparecerá por mucho que lo desees. Estará observando cuando exhales tu último suspiro.
Dying thus.
I won't let you kill me.
No dejaré que me mates.
Surrounded, Senua. Watch out. Behind you. Watch out.
Uf, son demasiados. Se puede. Solo necesito tiempo. Y espacio.
Careful. Surrounded, Senua.
Ven. Demasiado. Demasiado, tardé demasiado.
Behind you. Careful. Watch out.
Chao, watch out.
I can see through your darkness.
Puedo verte a través de tu
You're a
oscuridad.
liar and
Como
a
mientes.
murderer. And if you really are Hela,
Y si es cierto que
then
eres
I have
Hela,
a sword
aquí
here
tengo una
that
espada
can
capaz de
kill a
matarte.
god.
Capaz de matar a un dios. Bien. Menudo espectáculo. Corre hacia adelante para avanzar hacia atrás para regodearte en tus pasos miserables.
You're making a mistake.
Buscar a Ilion es un error. El mismo error que originalmente acabó con su vida. Un error. ¿Eso dices? No. Estoy intentando salvarte de ti misma. ¿Sigues pensando que es mentira? La plaga de la oscuridad, la carnicería que hicieron los norteños con Dillion, todo mentira, tú misma lo viste. Les dijiste a todos que estaba maldita y te creyeron. Yo te creí.
They believed you. I believed you.
Dime, Senua, ¿dónde está el alma de Dillion si la oscuridad es una mentira? ¿Cómo piensas salvarlo? Está aquí. Sé que está aquí.
I know he's here. Dillion,
Dillion, sé que estás aquí. Aguanta, te encontraré.
hold on. I'll find you.
Uf, me asustaste. Genial, salieron dos. Uf. Oh, Dios santo. ¿Dónde está el otro? Miren, ¿dónde estás?
Where is he? You're trying to trick me again with your lies.
Intentas engatusarme de nuevo con tus mentiras. Sé que él está aquí, me lo arrebataste. Está contigo. Dillion no está. Ha muerto, olvídate de él.
Or what? What can he do to me that you haven't already? Fight me. Come on.
Uf, son demasiados.
You betrayed the gods in search of Dillion, in search of love. Look where that's got you. Let go of your battles. Let go of your
Ah,
Let go of Dillion. Don't let your darkness hurt anyone else.
aturdidísimo.
Watch out.
Demasiados. Uf. Estoy aturdido. Bueno, aturdido. Ah. Aquí voy a morir, ¿verdad? Ah, Dios, me aturde mucho. Oh, Dios. Dios. Creo que tengo que perder o no lo sé, es demasiado. Uf. Ahora estoy haciendo algo que no debo. Ah.
Let go of your battle. You don't have to fight anymore. Killing yourself.
Ah.
You're going to die. Careful.
Uf. Justo me stuneó, voy a crash. Oh.
Let go of Dillion. Let go of your battle. Be careful, Senua. Stop. You're killing yourself.
No sé esto cuándo se va a acabar. Dios. ¿No puedo atacar a ella? No. No. Me stunea a ella. Fíjate. Uf.
Let go, Senua. Killing yourself. Going to die.
Demasiados.
Careful, Senua.
Siempre hay alguien atrás de mí.
Watch out.
Uf.
Watch out. Be careful, Senua.
Uf. No sé si esto tiene fin. A lo mejor tengo que morir, pero yo voy a darle hasta el final, ¿va?
Behind you. Surrounded. Behind you. Let go of your battle. You've done enough. You're going to die. Stop. You're killing yourself. Watch out. Behind you.
Uf.
Watch out.
Uf. Demasiados.
Go of your battle. Let go. Careful.
Uf. Estuneadísimo. Me estuneó Hela con el grito y caí ya. Tenía que perder. ¿Cuánto duré así? ¿20 minutos? Es un récord personal, ¿no? Imposible de ganar. Aún sigue siendo muy grande, ¿eh? Mira, en comparación el tamaño de la espada.
If you were alive, and there's no darkness, then you never took him from me, did you? And I can't save Dorian.
Parece que no lo puedes salvar, entonces.
that what you want me to believe? After all you've done to me? And to
Y
him?
a él también.
You're not alive.
No, no eres ningún fraude, pero mientes. Te colaste en mi interior para confundirme y engañarme, pero yo sé que él está aquí. Sé que le retienes.
Confuse me and deceive me. But I know it's him. I know you have him.
I'll give you my life.
Te voy a entregar mi vida.
That's what you
¿No
want.
es lo que quieres? Mi alma,
Take it.
toda tuya. Seré tu esclava guerrera. Combatiré a tu lado en Ragnarok.
I'll be a slave.
Si lo sueltas.
I'll fight with you at Ragnarok. If you release him.
Creo que hemos demostrado que somos fuertes, ¿no? Capaces. Pero no sé si eso le baste a ella. Pero si no, vas a tener que matarme. Porque ya no me queda nada. Ni miedo, ni odio, ni razones. Nada.
No fear. No hate. No quest. Nothing. And you,
Y no tienes poder alguno sobre mí.
no power over me.
Senua, yo aprendí por las malas a no temer a la muerte, pues una vida sin pérdida es una vida sin amor.
Because a life without loss is one without love. You turn your back on death.
Dale la espalda a la muerte y solo verás la sombra que está proyectada. ¿Qué esta proyecta?
The longer you hide from it,
Cuanto más tiempo te escondas, más larga será la sombra, hasta que solo puedas ver oscuridad.
when our time
Al
comes,
llegar nuestra hora debemos mirar a la muerte a los ojos y aceptarla como a una amiga. Solo así podremos abandonar el miedo y emerger de nuestra oscuridad.
only then can we let go of our fear. And emerge from our darkness.
Tiene runas en el cuerpo. No me digas que ella es Senua. Nunca olvides cómo es ver el mundo como un niño, donde cada hoja de otoño es una obra de arte, cada nube en movimiento una imagen animada, cada día una nueva historia. Nosotros también surgimos de esta magia como una ola de océano para volver al mar. Senua. Adiós, amor mío. No llores por las olas, las hojas y las nubes, porque incluso en la oscuridad la belleza del mundo nunca nos abandona. Siempre está ahí, esperando a que la vuelvas a ver. Aquí comenzó una historia y aquí debe acabar, porque no puedo ver más allá. Ven con nosotras. Tenemos más historias que contar. Ve con ella, amigo mío. A partir de ahora tú serás el testigo de esta historia. Ahí está ella. Adiós. Híjole, me cuesta, ¿eh? No estoy seguro si entendí bien todo. Aparentemente hay algo aquí que me sale en el menú. Reportaje de Hellblade. No voy a poner mi cámara para no tapar las letras, ¿ok? Vamos a escucharlo. Aviso. El siguiente reportaje contiene escenas del juego. Recomendado verlo después de completar el Hellblade. Theory. ¿Habrá una explicación, aparentemente? Dios, es que imagínate encontrarse con eso. A consultas mentales, fíjate.
By Senua's nightmares. Maybe that's why people fear seeing the world through her eyes. Yes, she's scared. Because if you believe that Senua's reality is twisted, you must accept that yours might be too.
Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is a video game about Senua, a Celtic warrior on a vision quest into Viking territory. But what sets our hero Senua apart is that she suffers from severe psychotic mental
mira, ok. Trastorno psicótico grave. O sea, sí se le nota, pero no sé si es eso, o sea, si es una enfermedad mental o es que pues está en Helheim.
The original idea for Hellblade was to create a classic hero's journey, a journey of suffering, but one where the fantasy world is not another planet or alternate universe, but a world that is constructed in Senua's mind. But to do so would mean putting psychotic mental illness at the center of the experience, a subject that is still considered taboo, and a challenge that was both terrifying and exciting in equal measure. In Hellblade, the starting point was a newly discovered Celtic goddess called Senua in Ashwell, Hertfordshire. When first discovered, her name was thought to be Senua, a name which I liked and kept. I wondered if Senua might have been a Celtic warrior like Boudica who stood up to the Romans. While the Romans had conquered all of Europe, there was a group of Celts up in the furthest reaches of the Roman Empire that could not be conquered, the Picts. And so the Romans built a wall, called Hadrian's Wall, that spans across Britain from sea to sea to keep the Pictish barbarians at bay. The Picts were known for their war paint, painted on with woad, and their matted hair clumped with lime. And so Senua would be a barbarian Pict in this image.
What's your name?
Senua.
I haven't seen you before.
I don't live home much.
Oh, Zeno's daughter.
I have to go.
Wait.
Es que,
Orkney is often
bueno, ahorita
called
les digo.
Scotland and was inhabited by the Picts, steeped in history and mystery, and so I made Orkney Senua's home and set the stage for a crisis. In the late 8th century, the first Vikings landed on the Orkney Islands. The population of the Picts crashed thereafter, replaced by the Norsemen of the 9th century. Were they wiped out? We don't know for sure, but it would seem likely given the reputation of the Vikings. The Northmen's brutality is legendary. High-ranking leaders and chieftains of the tribes they conquered were often offered as sacrifice to their gods. The most brutal of these sacrifices was known as the Blood Eagle. I imagine Senua as a young female warrior who returns home from exile to find her partner, Dillion, brutally sacrificed to a Norse god by these hellish warriors from a faraway land. I imagine the horror of this moment and how it would have dragged her deep into mental torment.
Entonces lo que habíamos dicho, cuando no tenía maquillaje son eventos que sí pasaron en realidad. Y cuando traía el maquillaje de guerra era la alucinación de Senua, los trastornos de Senua. Entonces sí había una diferencia, fíjate, ¿eh? Ok, hay que rejugarlo para entenderle. Hay que ver los momentos donde aparentemente es real y no.
The Celts had a sophisticated and nuanced perspective on the nature of mental disorder. One term they used was Gelt. A Gelt is a man or woman who has been driven mad by a curse, battle trauma, or grief. The Gelt would take to a life in the woods in search of penance, punishment, and purgation. And so Senua became a Gelt, cursed by darkness, looking for redemption in the wilds.
O sea, me estás diciendo que
the Celts used in reference to mental disorders was Druth, meaning fool, or liar, one who utters the words of God. They tell of the mad sinner who flees battle into exile and takes on a beastly nature, growing feathers on his body. The character called Druth in Hellblade is based on a little-known person called Findan, an 8th century Irish Celt who was captured and enslaved by the Vikings, but eventually escaped to Orkney where he became a monk.
I will tell you my story.
Entonces estás diciendo que los exiliaban porque llegaban a un estado de locura donde ya no eran útiles para la guerra o algo así.
Upon meeting Senua, it would be his stories that fuel her quest deep into their world of gods.
The Northmen say the world will come to an end. The sun will grow black, the earth will sink into the sea, the stars will disappear, fire and water will meet, flames will play against the sky, the heavens and earth and all the world will be burned, all the gods will be dead, and the warriors of Valhalla and people everywhere.
Sí, porque ahí se cortó ella.
Ragnarok, for it is nigh.
So the stage was set for a new adventure, a journey into the Norse underworld called Hell, a vision quest fueled by madness and myth, a fantasy that was created by Senua's own mind, and one that we would experience through her eyes.
This is your mission. This is your quest. There is nothing else left.
To make a game about a warrior with psychotic mental illness as its central theme was fraught with danger. Mental illness such as psychosis is still taboo and rarely acknowledged in a century of cinema, never mind the new medium of games. Where it does feature, it often conflates psychosis and psychopathy associated with a lack of empathy. It is unfortunate that these two words sound so similar that they are used interchangeably in media. I must admit that I didn't have to look very far to discover my own ignorance of the subject. So we reached out to Paul Fletcher, psychiatrist and professor of health neuroscience at University of Cambridge.
Psychosis is a descriptive term, and it refers to having a loss of contact with objective reality. So it's characterized by two main sets of symptoms. One of them is hallucinations, where somebody experiences perceptions when there is no actual objective thing out there to perceive.
You're already dead. Who are you?
And the other is delusions, where somebody comes to very often bizarre, unpleasant, frightening beliefs when there's no good evidence in favor of them.
There's no doubt about it. The source of the darkness is in Helheim. And the goddess Hela holds his soul there.
We reached out to Welcome, a biomedical research charity that spends billions on research and awareness programs aimed at improving health.
Mental health hasn't always been presented in the media in a way that is particularly helpful. It can be challenging to engage people with the subject matter, and there are a lot of preconceived ideas about mental health, and particularly schizophrenia and psychosis. So we hope our support allows the team to continue to collaborate with Paul Fletcher and with those who have experience of psychosis to create a game that provides a fresh perspective on the condition and allows audiences to engage with it in a way that just wouldn't be possible in any other medium.
What started out as a brief consultation convinced me that we were only scratching the surface of an immensely deep and interesting subject that could enrich and change the very nature of the game.
That's cool. Thanks so much for coming in.
Pleasure, thanks. It was really interesting for me, and I'd love to be involved. I think it's fascinating. Absolutely.
Our understanding of psychosis is still very much a mystery, and ways of treating it are still primitive compared to physical illness. After all, it is easy to see the pain and suffering caused by physical diseases or physical trauma. It is not so easy to see the mental suffering and trauma of severe mental illness. But what if we could find a way to see it? Games are capable of drawing you in for hours on end, playing the role of a character who is different from you, experiencing their perspective, and actively involving you in a world that functions with a different set of rules. If we were to represent Senua psychosis, we would have to simulate voice hearing, a common attribute. But how can we simulate something we have no first-hand experience of? Professor Charles Fernyhough, a leading expert in voice hearing from Durham University, offered his help.
Hearing voices is an experience that is usually associated with severe mental illness, and crucially we know that hearing voices is a part of ordinary life for many people who don't meet the criteria for mental illness.
Yeah. Oh, that's not him in real life.
We know voices vary according to where they appear in space. Voices can appear far away in the distance, they can appear right there in your ear, they can seem to be coming from inside your head.
Based on the information Professor Fernyhough provided, I put together a sound brief and invited some actors to the studio. We recorded the actors using a binaural microphone, which records the 3D spatial position of sound, replicating the way sound is heard by human ears. It gives you an incredible sense that the person you are listening to is right there beside you.
Can't see how she's going.
Rachel Waddingham from the Voice Collective came to our studio with 2 young voice hearers to speak to our team. We talked at length about their experiences, and they listened to our tests, giving us feedback on how we could improve on it.
Everyone hates her. She's cursed.
It's very hard to represent what this experience is like, partly because it's such a personal, intense, emotional experience. It's testament to how Ninja Theory have been listening to what the researchers are saying, but also crucially listening to the experts by experience. What they've come up with is so compelling. It's by far the best representation I've heard of what these experiences are like.
Other common attributes of psychosis are visions and flashbacks. We met with Recovery College East, who work with and care for people recovering from severe mental disorders. A group of service users gave us their first-hand account of what they experience.
Sometimes when the visions or what we're seeing is too much, it becomes more difficult until eventually we perhaps don't see anything.
The people we spoke to, the stories they told, were fascinating, harrowing and mind-boggling. The reality of what people experienced was vivid, far exceeding what I could possibly have imagined. We went away itching to represent some of these visions and flashbacks in the game.
As we all know, my heart is so, love is so far away. Don't you know how I wanna feel deeper? I could never know how you grow, all these days are killing me. Now I see deep in me insanity does unfold. I just wanna feel deeper, deeper. I just wanna feel deeper, deeper. As we all know, my heart is so, love is so far away. Don't you know how I wanna feel deeper?
Ok, entonces, a ver, vamos a intentar entenderlo bien. Técnicamente, entonces, Senua parece que es... No entendí bien si fue exiliada antes o después de la muerte de su amado, de Dillion. Pero aparentemente, por ese estado de locura que le generó la muerte de su amado, ella entró en un estado mental horrible.
Showing them what we had achieved so far and refining the in-game representations based on their feedback. With their help, flashbacks, visions and changes in perception were woven into the story and gameplay of Senua.
The students that are involved in this project are incredibly excited about being involved. They have described the experience as being important because it values their lived experience and shows that despite what we have been through, all of that experience becomes valid, that actually it's something that we should all be talking about.
The experiences described range from beautiful to frightening beyond comprehension. I heard of a girl who has to live with an angry voice screaming at her, slamming on her doors and walls 24 hours a day.
Sí, es horrible, ver a una persona con
someone who would often see hanging
esquizofrenia.
So real that she would sometimes try to rescue them. The panic and fear that comes with such visions is entirely understandable, and it can be a living horror for some.
Worthless, weak, pathetic. Go on, feel sorry for yourself, because there is no one left to do that for you.
I was urged by one fellow that we should not shy away from showing this horror, and so I was perpetually torn in making Hellblade. Had we gone too far with our representations or not far enough?
Broken and lost.
Es que técnicamente entonces era real, ¿no? O sea, cuando ella no tenía el maquillaje era ella. No, era como una perspectiva de ella y con el maquillaje es una perspectiva de lo que ella está viendo. Sí, definitivamente, los delirios. Sí, ven señales de mensajes ocultos en los alrededores.
One individual described how everyday words, sounds, colors, and objects were steeped in meaning to him, forming a strange and sinister puzzle.
Como que se unen las letras, se unen los colores. Ven patrones.
It's not like the system shut down. It's actually an incredibly creative process. The person creates a world populated with voices and phantasms and terrors, and they're completely immersed in it. They believe in it.
We often invite people into the studio to play the game. In one of our playtests, they played through much of the game, making associations between runes, secret messages, and the threat of darkness that stalked them. There are many things that happen in the world of Hellblade that make perfect sense within the context of Senua's mind. The dark rot that's killing her slowly from within, the secret runes of the gods that block her path to Helheim, and strange associations that exist in the game to confuse you. To complete Senua's quest, you have to internalize and accept the logic and meaning behind these things to progress. Afterwards they said that they
Entonces la oscuridad sería como la locura, ¿no? Por así decirlo.
People with
La
delusions of
enfermedad.
all sorts would argue the same thing, that they are not aware of their experience being abnormal in any way.
I need this sword. It's important.
Representing perception changes and thinking patterns within Hellblade gives us a set of symptoms common in psychosis. But people with lived experience were keen to emphasize another point, that it is wrong to define a person by their symptoms. Quite often, the illness comes not from the symptoms, but from the stigma, isolation and mistreatment that comes about from the rest of society.
They say that I'm crazy.
Entiendo.
What if they're right?
I needed someone to portray Senua, someone who could believably internalize her suffering. Melina Jurgens, our video editor, had been a stand-in for Senua over a few months while we perfected our motion capture techniques. Without realizing it, she had already auditioned for the role, and I knew her well enough to know that I didn't have to teach her to act, but to relive her own internal pain. As often is the case, those who have suffered mental anguish are never far from us.
Lo hizo muy bien, ¿eh? La actriz lo hizo muy cañón.
My hope is that by creating
Muy
a
bien.
compelling and aspirational character in Senua who feels very much real, albeit in a fantasy setting, we can provide a lens into her reality, a different one to yours, and this is where storytelling comes into play. I imagined her life based on common threads in real people's lives. She was always prone to psychosis as a child. Her mother Galina also heard voices and had visions, so perhaps there was a genetic aspect. Or perhaps it was cultural, as she lived within a world without science, of gods and a superstition, as exemplified by her druid father Zimbal. Psychosis developed in her late teens to early 20s and was exasperated by stigma and isolation at the hands of the clansmen and her father.
This darkness. It's spreading.
Su padre representaba como esa parte, ¿no? Del trauma.
Seeing her lover Dillian sacrifice tips her over the edge, making her remodel her reality.
Ah, es que era un cúmulo de cosas.
Everything. The darkness. So the question is, what Senua experiences real? Can only be answered by saying, yes, it is real.
Ajá.
It's her reality.
Sí, sí. En su mente sí es real. Claro que es real. Entonces, lo de Dillian fue la gota que derramó el vaso de la conciencia, de la cordura, por así
Towards the
decirlo.
end of the project, service users and professionals that had collaborated with us were invited to see the near-final game. It was a chance to see if the game had reflected their views or if it had misrepresented them.
For me, being involved in especially developing Senua's character has been really important, and being able to bring in my perspective and what I see and what I hear, and having that built into the game has been a real privilege. It's gritty and it's meaty, and there are some tough subjects in there that are being tackled with honesty.
Es una lucha constante de no perder la cordura, de no ceder ante el dolor, ante el
I
sufrimiento.
was blown away by it today, absolutely blown away. It was just fantastic to get the opportunity to use our lived experience in a very creative way. There's nothing tokenistic about the work we've put in. It feels like we've been listened to, things have been taken on board, and I think there was a lot of realism in the game itself, and it feels very authentic.
Sí, se siente muy bien, ¿eh? Muy bien.
Hellblade will give people a good experience of what it's like to hear voices and have those experiences. I'm glad that the guys at Ninja Theory kind of asked us to come along and help them build an experience that's positive when it comes out, and get myself a copy and have a go.
Cómprate la versión de coleccionista. Pero es que lo que todavía me sigue dando duda es el final.
I was really inspired by how the conversations have translated into the game in a way that I think I didn't imagine was possible. So wonderful, really wonderful.
Porque técnicamente te dan a entender que al final ella, desde este concepto, como que lo supera, ¿no? Acepta la muerte de Dillion y recobra un poco de su cordura, de su conciencia.
To change people's perceptions, to increase understanding, and ultimately to make some of the stigma around voice hearing and other experiences go away.
Es que es lo que dicen ahí en el concepto de lo difícil que es saber. Se ha estudiado poco.
Represented so beautifully in a character who's trying to penetrate the mysteries of the environment in which they've been placed with all of this strange uncertainty and noise and conflicting information that they're getting. I'm very excited by this way of trying to represent mental illness because I think it actually might be offering us insights that we wouldn't get from pure scientific explorations and actually giving us quite an empathic view of what it might be like.
Es difícil saber si una persona puede recuperarse de una situación así.
For as long as we have been on this planet, but why? Why hasn't evolution stamped out this weakness from within our gene pool? I often pondered this question until I realized that the question had an inbuilt flaw. It assumes that being and thinking differently is a weakness. The only reason we have computers, spacecraft, medicine, poetry, art, and yes, even video games is because individuals are able to simulate new abstract realities in their minds and share them with the rest of us. We need people to be willing to see differently in order for us to progress and survive as society. And we need to be open to these new ways of seeing. And it is this spirit that motivated me to create Senua's story and share it with you.
Yo desde el principio cuando lo estaba jugando les había comentado que no entendía bien si era una enfermedad mental de Senua o si era realmente una historia contada de cómo ella llega a Helheim, cómo intenta recuperar a su ser amado y todo eso. Pero aparentemente pues no, sí te deja claro que es una... Bueno, ya con el reportaje deja claro que es una enfermedad mental. Como ella intenta luchar contra ese sufrimiento y ese dolor, técnicamente va perdiendo. ¿Por qué? Y es que es parte de la enfermedad. A veces, mientras más intentas razonar, mientras más intentas darle lógica a algo, a veces más te hundes. ¿Por qué? Porque tu lógica no está intentando aceptar, está intentando rechazar el dolor. Y ese es punto importante en el tratamiento psicológico. No se trata de sufrir toda la vida y de abrazar el dolor en el sentido de quedártelo para siempre y solo sufrimiento. No, el concepto de ver el dolor como un método de sanación, como un medio de liberación. Y creo que ese es el asunto. El problema es ese, que cuando el dolor es demasiado fuerte, demasiado intenso, se hunden, nos hundimos y no se puede salir. ¿Por qué? Porque a veces estamos deseando algo que no se puede lograr, como esa parte, ¿no? Recuperar a alguien que ya no está y que no va a volver. Uf, está Dios buenísimo. Qué bendito juego tan más cañón, Está muy, muy, muy cañón. Está súper bien hecho. Aquí quiero buscar algo rapidito. ¿Dónde está? Querido compadrito, si no me equivoco es suscriptor, voy a decir que sí. El Bochito se llama. Gracias, compadrito, por haberme recomendado el juego, Hellblade. Lo había visto hace tiempo, había leído que es de un tema psicológico. Y sí pensaba jugarlo, pero el hecho de que tú lo hayas sugerido y justo cuando lo sugeriste estaba en oferta el juego, así que dije, pues órale, gracias en verdad por sugerírmelo. Híjole, es una joya, es buenísimo este juego. Y la actriz, Dios, lo hizo muy bien, lo hizo muy, muy cañón. Yo he tenido la oportunidad de ir a un psiquiátrico, no como interno, como en tema de tipo prácticas. Y Dios, está pesado, ¿eh? He podido trabajar con personas que tienen problemas mentales fuertes y está muy cañón. Está muy cañón. O sea, esto definitivamente representa muy bien el proceso de la locura. Locura, pues, por decirlo así vagamente, ¿no? Es más complejo que eso, pero a lo que me refiero, el proceso de decadencia, el proceso de hundimiento emocional, está muy bien reflejado. Entonces, es un juegazo. Ninja Theory, definitivamente, juegazo. Quiero pensar y creo que sí va a salir una segunda parte, no estoy seguro. Creo que sí, a lo mejor lo soñé hace tiempo, lo había escuchado. Pero definitivamente si hacen otro, lo vamos a tener día 1. Entonces, gracias por haberme acompañado, gracias por haberlo visto. Desafortunadamente yo desde el principio pensé que era más como la historia de cómo una persona podía llegar a Helheim e intentar luchar contra la diosa. Pero no, parece que todo era una representación. Así que bueno, al final lo bueno que se entendió y se aclaró. Y creo que quedamos bien en ese aspecto. Entonces, gracias a todos por quedarse, gracias a todos por verlos, por sus opiniones, sus comentarios y todo eso. Abajo en la descripción está el link de la red social para que vayan, me sigan y estemos en contacto. Por favor, si les gustó, dejen su comentario, su like, sugiéranme otros juegos, por favor, para seguir aumentando este canal. Claro que es mi decisión que jugar, pero definitivamente que lo pueda compartir con ustedes es lo que lo hace especial. Y créanme que toda opinión, a veces no la elijo, no tanto porque es decisión personal, ¿va? Que a veces no tengo todavía el valor o las ganas de jugar ciertos juegos. O porque a veces hay juegos que no me gustan, pero créanme que siempre los leo y siempre intento complacer un poquito esa parte, pero claro, pues seguir complaciendo mi gusto, porque pues al final eso es lo que yo quiero, ¿no? Compartir mi gusto y mi cariño por los videojuegos. Entonces, gracias en verdad. Yo soy Yaminahual y nos vemos hasta la próxima. Chao.